Days as mayor. So as I stated earlier, we are adding a new portion to the agenda, which is public commentary, and I've asked to have it moved up before the presentation from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. So I'm going to open it up to the public right now for people to come up and comment. I want to read the speaker's time limitation. I, Jeffrey Grazel, announced that in order to give interested parties a fair chance to be heard, each speaker could comment for an unassignable period of 5 minutes before turning the microphone over to the next speaker. And I ask that if you do want another assignable 5-minute period, that you wait until the end of the meeting to have your second 5 minutes during the second public commentary, because there is other business the township has to do. So please keep your comments to 5 minutes, please. And please state your name and address as you come to the microphone.
My name is Harvery Klein. I live at 18 Hawthorne Court in Morris Township. A few weeks ago, we were acknowledging the approval of the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July. It is read, as has been at the Green in Morristown for several years, and I enjoy always listening to it. But what is not that well known is that actually the declaration, which was approved on the 4th, is based upon a resolution. It's known as the Lee Resolution, which was proposed to the Congress in Philadelphia on the 7th of June, 1776. That resolution states, resolved, that these United Colonies are, and ought to be, free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. As what usually happens to resolutions like this, as this committee well knows, it was tabled. It was tabled for 3 weeks until June 28th, and a committee of 5, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and 2 others, were assigned the task of writing a document in case this resolution was approved. The committee of 5 presented their document on time on June 28th, precisely 3 weeks later. There was debate, and as most people are aware, the resolution was approved on the 2nd of July, and John Adams actually thought the 2nd of July would be celebrated as Independence Day. But it was another 2 days until the 4th before the Declaration was approved and signed by John Hancock, who was President of the Congress at that time, and the Secretary of the Congress printed out and then distributed. The reason I am here, though, is not on what happened on the 2nd or even the 4th of July, but going back to the 7th of June, when Richard Henry Lee from the province of Virginia proposed his resolution. If you look on the Congressional Journal, you will see that the very next paragraph states that a committee to whom was referred the consideration of an attempt made to counterfeit bills of credit emitted by the Congress brought in their report. The committee to whom was referred the consideration of the attempt made to counterfeit bills of credit emitted by Congress begs leave to report that it appears to the committee by sundry affidavits, the confessions of the parties charged and other papers that Elizabeth Van Dyne, the wife of Henry Van Dyne of Morris County in the province of New Jersey, with the privity of her said husband, had counterfeited several bills of the continental currency, some of which were passed by said Van Dyne, and others of them by his wife, and that the said Van Dyne and his wife were, for the said offense, committed to the jail of the county of Morris by order of the committee of the township of Morris. Whereupon your committee came to the following resolution, that these people should basically stay in jail or be put out on bail and then tried as abiding for the above offense. In other words, in the very next paragraph after the Lee resolution, which brought us eventually to independence, this committee, the committee of the Township of Morris, is noted, and not for some minor fact, but actually for sending counterfeiters to jail. And later on they say, what we've got to do is, we have to make more laws saying you can't counterfeit our money, meaning the Congress's bills of credit. I just wanted this committee to be aware that we all know that Morris Township goes back to the early 1700s, but it shows you how active this committee, and there it is, the committee of the Township of Morris was in the report issued on the 7th of June, 1776. Thank you. I kept it under 5 minutes.
Thank you for that bit of history. Very much appreciated.
Yes.
Harvey, if you have some text that you can send us, one of my ideas is that we should be putting up some of the history of our municipality online on our website, and that would be, what's that?
So we have some history up.
We have some history up? Okay. Well, that would be a great addition to that, whatever history we do have on the website, so thank you for
The
that.
real question is what happened to the Van Dykes?
Right.
They might still be in jail system.
Yeah. I'll ask Mr. Mills to look into that.
By the
So-
way, the jail was on the green.
Very good. Okay, your name and address?
Richard Kasmin from 3 Exeter Lane in Morristown, and so I'm here to speak...
Morris Township.
I'm sorry, Morris Township, yes, exactly. So I'm here to speak in favor of having a sidewalk built from the extension where it ends now in Morristown, where thank God it's finally being built, and to at least to Foots Lane and possibly further down. So basically I've been living in Foots Lane for about 12 years now. And so I have 3 kids, and I'm a frequent pedestrian going into town. It is dangerous. It has been dangerous for many years. For many years my children have requested the ability to walk into town by themselves or with friends, and we haven't allowed them to because of the danger that is entailed with walking into town on James Street. At various times we've allowed them to kind of like sneak through backyards and things like that, but it's not an ideal situation. So now certainly with anything like this, it always comes down to economics. So I'm an economist actually, and I can think about this in terms of cost benefit. So, you know, what are the benefits of a sidewalk into town? Well, certainly to the extent that we have a tremendous amount of traffic, to the extent that we want to keep people safe, to the extent that we want to support the overall economy, to the extent that we want to increase the value of the area that we live to make it more beneficial for all the residents in my area and the areas extending further back. Obviously, it has tremendous benefit to all of us. The cost, obviously, whatever it would take to cost to build the sidewalk, I'm sure is not a small amount. But there are many people who live in my area and even further out who constantly use this path, James Street, as a pedestrian way. There's also bicyclists, not to mention all the cars, and you know, I've heard way too many terror tales, be it bicyclists, cars, and pedestrians, that I really have it strongly in my head all the time that it's a big concern for me. So just here to speak highly in favor of hopefully getting a sidewalk extension built from where it now ends in Morristown, at least up to Foots Lane, and potentially further out, because as I say, there are plenty of pedestrians there, and I do think it's an important thing that we could get at this point. So that's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Very good. Just, Mr. Kasmin, just to correct one thing that you said, or clarify one thing you said, there is a partial existing sidewalk in Morris Township in front of Sherwood that does connect to that particular community.
That's correct.
And we're talking about extending that sidewalk down to Foots Lane.
Yes, thank you for the correction.
Yes, thank you.
Hello, Dan Brownstein, 8 Trent Court, Morris Township. I'm also here regarding the James Street sidewalk, and I As you know, there was a 2013 resolution where you urged Morristown to build the missing link, and they've essentially completed that. It's like 95% done as of 5:30 tonight anyway. So what I'm hoping is that since they're done, the township committee and the members and the business administrator who's promised that if Morristown completes their portion, Morris Township will complete their extension to Foots Lane. So I'm hoping you keep your promise, and that's it. And has a survey been ordered? I know that's needed to continue to go out to bid.
Right. So per that resolution that you refer to, the governing body at the time said that, yeah, when Morris Township does their part, we will do our part, because we had been waiting for a number of years,
Right.
because we didn't want to build the sidewalk to nowhere if Morristown didn't build their connection. So now that that portion is being built, we have gone ahead and ordered a survey. So I did not realize until about a week ago that we actually had to order a survey, but the reason for that is if you drive down James Street, which you do every day, you'll see that the opposite side by Cottonwood and Applewood and all that actually has curbing. Your side does not.
Right.
And so we need a survey that covers actually both sides of the road so that we could understand our road widths, appropriate road widths, and measure all those things out as per our requirements for building a road and a sidewalk. And understanding the trees and any landscape that might have to change in order to build the sidewalk. So we have given authority already to the engineer. The process is that we get 3 bids. Since the threshold...
3 bids for the survey, or 3 bids?
3 bids for the survey. So the first step is doing the survey. Quotes. Sorry, they're not bids, they're quotes, because we don't have to go out to bid. We just get 3 quotes from qualified surveyors, and we pick the lowest. I think we picked the lowest quote. Most qualified, lowest quote. And we think that it's my discussions with Mr. Quinn that we'll get that survey quote work out in the next week. And it'll probably be a couple weeks before we get the quotes back. And then we'll make a selection. The engineer will make the selection. And we hope that in the month of August, the survey will actually begin. Now, we can't do any work, obviously, until the survey work comes back. But the next step after the survey work is that goes into help us building a bid package. So the bid package is for the big chunk of the work. So based on the survey, we'll put together a bid package, and then that will go out to bid. And that will be a true bid process. And so that will probably take another month or 2,
Right.
or
So
longer.
does that mean it's approved since you're moving forward?
We have to wait to get the quotes back to see how much it costs. So we're going to get the cost estimates, and then we will have to appropriate the money to build it.
From where?
We have the money. Right, but we still have to appropriate the money. We have to make a formal appropriation of those funds. Yeah, so we do have funds to build it, to Foots Lane. Right, right, we reserve the funds to build it. So when we get the quote back, when we get the survey back, we can build the bid package. When we get the bid package out, we'll take the bids in and we'll have to select the lowest qualified bidder.
And how much, you said you reserved it, how much?
Yeah. Yes, there are a lot of projects that are part of the general capital fund. This is on the list of the general capital projects for this year. As you and I have discussed, we've put aside money for this project. Based on the amount that comes back for the bid, we'll know how much we can do this year and possibly continue it next year. There's definitely enough money to go to Foots Lane. The question is if we can go any further this year or if we have to go further next year or next year's budget.
Okay.
But I'm very hopeful that we'll get the Foots Lane portion built. Whether it happens this year before the cold weather comes on, I can't guarantee. Right. So
Okay.
we'll see how realistic it is based on the timeline and when the cold weather starts this year. We'll see how it goes. But that's the process. I
We're
can't.
having a very warm fall and winter.
Thank
you.
We're starting.
We are.
We're starting right now with the warm weather. Thank you so much for keeping this in front of us, Mr. Bernstein.
Brownstein, yes.
Good evening, Charlene Anderson, 7 Emmett Avenue. Hear about the Collinsville playground. The work on the playground was begun in March. It was scheduled to be completed in approximately 60 days. Yes, we've had excessive rain, and which I'm sure prohibited a lot of work, lost a lot of time with that. But the weather has been clear recently. There was someone in the neighborhood said that they had been told that all they needed was 4 clear days to get it done. Also, there was the yellow caution tape on some of the new equipment. It's gone. Kids are on it. Is it safe for the children to be on that equipment? And one other, I'm sorry, Tim. One other is, we had a shade pavilion. We don't have any shade trees. Is it possible, or is that in the plans for us to have another shade pavilion for the kids to sit under to play or something?
I need to check on that. I don't have the answer up here on me on that one. With the contractor, we need 4 to 5 days. All the work is done, except for putting down the attenuation surface, which is an adhesive. And they need 4 or 5 days without any rainy weather. We've been trying to work with them to get them back and get that scheduled, so I'm hoping that's going to be done, hopefully in the next week or 2, but I don't want to put that promise on that because I don't have control over the contractor on that, other than holding back their money. But everything is done. I will also address, because we did put up the caution tape, because we really don't want the kids on there, because if they fall off the equipment, they could get hurt.
But they are on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know.
Hello, my name's Adam Smith. I live at 6 Exeter Lane in Morris Township. I've lived there since April of 2002, so about 17 years. From day one, I knew that the James Street sidewalk was always something I wanted to see coming to fruition as we had small children. The children are now 16, 14, and 9. And like the cicadas come back every 17 years, I come back to the committee every 6 years to revisit this because there seems to be some momentum. In August of 2007, I met with Mayor Nace. I gathered 26 letters from my neighbors and was told that the sidewalk would cost us $21 a foot, but not a priority because we, Morris Township, don't build sidewalks, and there are capital projects ahead of it for several years to come. So a little discouraged and told that it was a combination of Morristown, Morris County, and Morris Township that all have to come together. I was going to have children and backburnered this. Hope was resuscitated in the fall of 2013 as conversation between Morristown and the township. Leaders got engaged in conversation. We got close, which then fell apart as each side wanted more from another. So that you build our part, you'll build your part, and then build some more where it means more to Morristown. There was a newspaper article that then quoted the entire budget for the entire stretch from Thomas Jefferson to Springbrook at $180,000 for the whole length, so about $100 a foot. In 2005, the township put 4,400 feet here on Woodland Avenue down to connect to Waunaka. It cost them $50 a foot. So we're seeing $21, $50, $100. And in 2014, I have an estimate that said it was going to be $200 a foot for just this little stretch. So my point is, I think surveys have been done. I think cost estimates have been done. They might be dated. We might be able to save money by revisiting those plans, reaching out to the Morristown engineer who's actually gotten their foot on the pedal and put in the sidewalk without us moving first or without any kind of coordination, which I think was a mistake, a missed opportunity to just keep the same contractors on and go down to 1,000 feet more. To think that we're going to go to Foots Lane, 600 feet, and then not do the 400 feet to Springbrook, I think that's going to be pretty inefficient. Please consider that when you're making the budget and the plan. You're going to catch another 100 homes, from the Springbrook area. They're going to be thrilled to be able to walk on a sidewalk and not worry about getting mowed down by trucks and cars. So I hope I'm not going to be here in 6 more years. We have Mayor Nace, Mayor Kusa, Mayor Brazel. I hope the third time's a charm. Please do what you can, and I don't have to keep gathering notes about how this has been stagnant. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for coming out, sir.
Thank you. Yes, just Mr. Smith, to address a couple of your comments. While cost estimates had been done previously, I found out that the surveys never work, because you can't conduct a cost estimate without doing the survey. You know about how many feet you have to go, and you know the terrain, and the engineer can make an estimate of what the costs were, but he told me that he never actually did a survey, and that we do need to do that because of the road width and all the other elements of constructing the road, because a curve is going in, that the full survey is required for us to do that. So that was one element. Going to Springbrook was another thing you said. So yes, we do want to go to
Flood warnings.
everybody at once.
Flood warnings.
Up there I go too. Yes. There you go. So it's our ultimate goal, and my ultimate vision is actually to connect everything down Southgate, and we'll ultimately connect to Ginty Pool, which is a township recreational facility one day. So that's, I think, an ultimate goal for us to shoot for. The other thing that you're going to see later tonight, if you stick around, is we are introducing a groundbreaking ordinance for a Transportation and Circulation Advisory Committee, which is going to be assessing all the circulation elements within Morris Township to look at where people walk, where people bike, to try to get people out of their cars and onto their feet and bike safely, so people can move around the township and move to Morristown, move to our recreational facilities, move lots of different places in a safe manner. So look at where we want to put in sidewalks, where we want to put in bike paths. And that's coming later tonight if you want to stick around to hear about that. So we're heading in that direction, and hearing from everybody about the sidewalk really jives with the efforts that we're undertaking later this evening to make that happen in Morris Township. Thank you.
I'm Thelma Achenbach, and I live at 23 Sherwood Drive in Woodside. So I'm on the other end of this sidewalk. I'm on the Morristown end of it. However, I'm here to speak in favor of it, and I want to tell you why. What I want to do is read into the record, and for everybody's benefit here, an email that I sent to our mayor this past Sunday. I walk almost every day, as do many of my neighbors, although some of them jog, and I like to walk 3 miles or more. As you already know, I regularly walk to Morristown, and I'm looking forward to more safely doing that as the sidewalk now under construction is completed. Early this morning, I walked to the farmer's market in Morristown, and tomorrow I will walk to the bank and then the library. However, when I exit Woodside, I'm as likely to turn right and go the other way. Here are a few places I walk, either solo or with more friends when I turn right. Number 1, sometimes I walk to Foots Lane and the residential streets there. However, there the terrain is mostly flat, so more often we walk on to Springbrook, which offers the challenge of some hills. A friend and I drove to Springbrook Road on the 4th of July, parked, and then walked down Armstrong to the fireworks. We would have walked the entire distance from Woodside if there had been a sidewalk along James Street to make that walk safe after dark. Also, I've walked many times through Springbrook to the firehouse on my way to vote. Number 2, as you know, there's a medical building on the other side of I-287, and depending upon the time of day, I sometimes walk there. However, more typically I drive because the walk is unsafe. I also walk on the sidewalks throughout the James Place neighborhood when I get to the other side of I-287, but getting there is a challenge. Lastly, we have walked across I-287 to Southgate Parkway and then South Street to Rich's Deli, ending up at Lawanta. However, I do not plan to do this again until there is a safe path to do it. By the way, it's not my view that all these connections need to be made with Belgian block curb sidewalk, but rather a less costly path would be just fine. Thank you again for all you've done and continue to do to get us walking safely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Michaela Brownstein, and this is my son Saul Brownstein. We're at 8 Trent Court, Morristown. And since we moved to Trent Court, we've been at meetings, just like Adam had mentioned, and I'm sure my husband has, asking that there be a safe sidewalk for my son, who really likes to get out and about town. You've probably all seen him at some point or another. And I feel like now is the time to finish from Morristown to Morris Township. So I finally don't have to worry about him being out and about. Accessibility is an issue, and we just would love to have this be safe for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Mckay. I live in 10 Victoria Lane, so I'm on the other side of the highway. My request here was to have like a sidewalk from where the townhomes are all the way up to Guilty, because that's the closest recreation spot for us, like with the pool and the tennis courts. But right now, there's no way to get there other than driving. During the summertime, it's hard to find parking in the pool, and if you could walk, that would be great. But beyond the townhomes, there's no sidewalk. So my request, again, like all our neighbors have said before, like have a sidewalk, or even a bike path where the kids could bike, or maybe people like out of high school who are old enough to bike by themselves, but I just can't let them do it now. Everybody's like tearing to get on 287 North exit on South Bay Park Road. There's no safe path there for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very good. And again, that'll be the goal of this Transportation and Circulation Advisory Committee, which we're going to be talking about later tonight, is to see how people connect to our recreational facilities and other places that they want to get to by their feet or by their bikes. Because what you said is correct. We want to get people out of their cars and have them bike to the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Mckay, 10 Walnut Street, Morris Township. I'm here, I have, actually, with a couple of days, I have 100+ signatures for speed bumps in Collinsville. I only did a couple of days, and there's way more residents that I need to go to. I just didn't get to them all. And we were, well, it was said that there was a traffic study on Highland Avenue, a 2-day traffic study, and the outcome was that Highland didn't need speed bumps. But I have a lot of people from Highland Avenue who signed the petition, and we want to know when the study was conducted. Was it during the weekend, weekday, workday, what time frame, and how did they come, to the conclusion of it not needing the speed bumps? Is there any way we can see or read the study to find out when it was conducted? I can't hear.
And so I asked for a summary of the study a couple days ago, actually, myself. And it's a 48-hour consecutive survey done during weekdays? During weekdays. Yeah. On weekdays, usually Tuesday to Thursday. We can get the exact dates if you want. I believe that we tracked over those 2 days, it was in excess of 600 cars in each direction going down Highland, if I recall correctly from the report. One direction was a little bit less. We can get you the exact statistics. I don't have them right in front of me, but it was done just a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So we had previously done it 5 years ago, and we wanted to get some updated numbers. And so I asked for another survey to be done.
So is it confirmed that they're not going to do them, or is it confirmed that they're not going to do the speed bumps on Highland? Because I heard the summary say that Highland does not need them.
Well, that's what, right, so right now we don't have any speed bumps in Morris Township. It is something that maybe the Transportation Advisory Committee will look into. I mean, we'll see. We're not going to put in speed bumps if we do. There might be speed humps if we ever go to that length of doing it, but there are other ways of calming traffic before I think we would ever go there. And so we would like to, we can meet with the residents if you'd like, talk about some possible traffic calming measures that might slow people down. I know a big issue is that it's a cut-through street, so we can talk about trying to deter people from using it to cut through.
Well, it's more than Highland on this petition. I have Highland, Corey Road, Walnut Street, and portions of Cleveland Avenue. Now, when I was going around, people on Cleveland, between Walnut and Highland, there's both sides of the street parking. Now, if you go through there at certain after-work hours, you can barely fit a car through it. Now, imagine an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, EMS truck. You can't, when two people are coming towards each other, one has to pull over to allow the other one to come through. So they want to know why you have one side of the street parking from Monroe to Walnut and not through the whole street.
So from Monroe to Walnut is the
Monroe is the playground
park.
area.
Yes, is the playground area.
It's one
So
side of the street.
I don't know the exact answer to your question. I'd just be guessing that it's because of the playground. It has been mentioned to me before that Cleveland is an issue with cars parking on both sides of the street, and that we need to address that. We're going to have, so Mr. Quinn just wrote me a note that we can have Chief DiCarlo go out and take a look at Cleveland and make an assessment.
Last year, he did that. And he said that both sides of the street allow parking, but people are still complaining.
Right, so one of the issues is that there's insufficient parking in the neighborhood, and if we were to take parking off of one side of the street, I don't know if there's going to be enough parking in the neighborhood for all the cars. That's a general issue that we need to address. And as Mr. Quinn said, even though there is parking on both sides of the street, there's limited accident history, and that's what usually drives certain policy decisions. If there are accidents that are happening on an ongoing basis, we try to do things to, reduce the accidents in the future. But in this
It's not really
instance,
about the accidents, it's about the safety. If you go through there after work time, you can only fit one car through. Now imagine if one or two fire trucks had to come through there.
yeah, that is an issue. That if a fire truck can't fit through, but to make sure that there's sufficient roadway for the fire truck to get through. So we'll have the police department go out and take a look at what's going on in Cleveland and see if they have any recommendations for us. And again, we'll get you, just write a note to Mr. Quinn. He'll give you the survey information from Highland Avenue. And if you want to have a little community meeting, we can do so. Talk about the issues in the neighborhood.
Okay, one more thing. Last year, I wrote a letter to Mr. Quinn, and I actually had it was last year, September. Osterhard? That's Patrolman Osterhard. I guess he's in charge of the streets or whatever. But, and I also asked about, there were several streets, about 10 streets, that were paved last year. And I understood that, they got selected, and I asked for any leftover asphalt for Walnut Street, because there's several potholes, and there's some big enough that when it rains, it stays for a week. And I noticed the birds bathed in the water, and we had a West Nile virus detected in the Corey Road area and Tuckerfield area. Whoever I asked me to give them location. I took pictures, I gave them locations of where the big potholes were, and I never heard anything else. But this year, the past 2 months, I've noticed that they've been filling up the little holes. Okay, there's a couple of little holes they selected to asphalt on Walnut Street, but not the big one.
Where's the big one? Because I drive down Walnut Street every so
I have
often.
a picture right here, it's a black and white picture.
I know there was one forming next to the manhole cover. Is that what you're talking about?
There's one,
And I've been told by the DPW that they fixed the big one that was next to the manhole cover, because I actually asked them to do
That's the
that.
one they fixed, and it's another small one over Cleveland that they put asphalt in. And there's several big ones. I took a picture going down from MLK down to Cleveland. This is where the birds stay and the water stays like 3-4 days after it rains.
Okay, we'll go out and check tomorrow. And we have regular pothole repair by DPW. Yeah, we're out every day filling potholes around town, so we'll certainly add those to the list.
Okay.
I can say that the last time I drove down Walnut, I didn't notice anything major.
Well,
Or else I would
I
have
asked
reported
this
it
last
too.
year. You weren't there last year when I asked it. So maybe.
Okay, yeah, I don't think filling potholes is matters, he's the neighbor. That's something that we do on a regular basis, so.
Well, if the mosquitoes are really bad, it is in the area. You
Mhm.
know, you want to sit in your yard, enjoy something, you go back, when I want to spray.
Right.
All right,
And as I also told you earlier this year, that we put in the budget this year to do an engineering study of Walnut Street, so that once that house on the corner is reconstructed, or constructed, I should say, we can redo the whole street. So we're going to put in curbing on Walnut Street and redo the whole entire road, possibly next year, if maybe not next year. We'll see. I mean, I don't want to promise a certain date, but we did put the engineering study in the budget for this year. So once that house is completed, we'll move forward with the engineering study, and then we'll see when the road construction can get done. But Walnut is on our radar.
So we have to wait until someone who doesn't live in the area completes his project?
Well, because he's going to just mess up the curb, and then you'd have a messed up road. You know, it's better to wait for the construction to be done so we could do it the right way the first time, and not have to go back and patch it up.
What if it takes that person 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And Mr. Quinn also says that we rate our streets every year. There's a rating system that we have, and we pick off based on the budget amount we have in the budget. We take those number of streets that we can to get done off the top of the list. So we have a rating for actually every single street in the township. But yeah, but Walnut is going to require reconstruction, and like I said, we put the engineering study money in the budget for this year.
So how's the rating, like 1 to 10? Or how does that go?
The percentage based on 100.
Yeah, it's from
It's formula that comes out of the record.
So 100 is good, bad?
Good.
Or how do you-
Good.
So what's Walnut?
All right, I have about 175 streets, I don't know what.
Yeah, we can get you that list too if you want to see where Walnut ranks. But like I said, we're going to get to Walnut because Walnut needs more than just, repaving. We're going to put curbs in there.
And we want to keep those humps or speed bumps in your heads too, because the residents definitely
Thank
want
you. So if you want to leave a copy of the signatures for us, I know you want to keep going with it. If you want to leave us a copy,
Okay.
you can do so, or if you want to wait until you have more signatures, you can give it to us then.
And basically, the residents want them because of all the new traffic, the new development. People are cutting through to avoid the traffic light. You got Colgate-Palmolive, you got Lowe's.
You're not the only spot in the township where people cut through. People cut through Morris Township everywhere, and it's something we need to
Well,
address.
it's one of a major area.
Yep.
A major area.
It is.
There's several, there's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 ongoing constructions now,
Right.
all at the same time.
Right, okay.
So,
Got it. So let me ask, if you have more questions to ask, if you could wait for the second commentary period, because there are other people in line, and we have
thank you.
other business. Thank you, Jeannie.
Thanks, Jane.
Hi, my name is Mayrav Smith, and I live on Exeter Lane. I moved there into the neighborhood about 17 years ago. And before moving there, we considered many, many communities. We considered Chatham, Madison, Livingston, Randolph. But what drew us to Morristown was really the town. Oh, sorry. What drew us to Morristown was really the town. And what drew us to the Fitz Lane neighborhood was its close proximity to the town. But what we didn't realize is how dangerous it would be getting to town because we often walk and such. I'm a mom of 3 children. Jacob is my oldest, actually, for 2. He goes to Morristown High School and plays for the soccer team. He's very active, and on a weekly basis, he goes into town. He walks, he skateboards with his friends, and I always worry about that. I also have a daughter who just graduated from Freeman High Middle School, who periodically gets on her bike, goes into the local Walgreens to get chewing gum or whatever. So worry about her. And then I have a son, Evan, who came today. He's 9. He goes to Alexander Hamilton, and he rides his bike everywhere, including the town library. He goes to Litterwood Field. We have taught the kids to cross over James Street and to go the back way, to circumvent the busy James Street, to go through Strawberry Lane, to go through the condos, etc. But still, it's still a very busy area. For about 15 years, we have been advocating for the sidewalk to town. My husband Adam spoke. We also are pleased that Morristown has taken on the building of the sidewalk until it meets the condos. And we just ask that the Morris Township continue the sidewalk to ensure the safety of the Foots Lane and the Springbrook Town community. If you're wondering about the public demand for the sidewalk, I will assure you it is very high. Not one day goes by when members of our neighborhood or the Springbrook neighborhood does not walk into town, ride bikes, walk dogs, etc. So each day, community members are increased risk of harm, something that this little extension really could help mitigate. I'm also very pleased to hear about the Genty. It wasn't even on my radar, but also our kids go to Genty Pool, so we're very excited about the prospect of also having sidewalks and other ways to get to Genty in the city.
Thank you. So again, I want to remind people that we are going to have another commentary period at the end of the meeting. If you might want to hold your comments till then, but you're welcome to come up and speak now.
Thank you. Lee Goldberg, 10 Arrowhead Road. Just wanted to address again, the James Street sidewalks and following that story for a number of years. I'm glad to see that Morristown has got to work on their end. And I appreciate learning tonight that the surveys haven't been done and that need to be done. I was under the impression that they had been done, and that you also alluded to that money was set aside for this, and you said something about appropriating money, and then Mr. Quinn said something that there's a general capital fund that's mixed in there with some projects. Is there a line item that actually, I want to assure that the funding is there as well. I was under the impression.
I told you the funding is there.
Yeah,
You don't have to assure.
there's a line item, but the way that money gets appropriated through ordinance, above a certain amount, we have to allocate the money to certain projects, which we're going to be doing tonight for Washington Valley Road. You'll see there's a resolution on the agenda appropriating money to the Washington Valley Road, even though it's in the budget, right? And there was a previous ordinance for it. We still have to resolve to spend the money.
So that would have to get, that same process would have to play out again in the future for if and when.
For every expenditure. For every expenditure above, what is it? What number? $40,000. Every expenditure above $40,000, we have to, as a body, agree to spend the money.
Thank you.
Even if it's a line item in the budget.
All right, thank you for that update. And then, did we look at any grant funding for this? Through any sort of programs? Was any grant funding like that, or were we able to obtain any for this project?
It's not, right now it's not connecting to anywhere, so there's no grant funding, but it is something, again, that the Transportation Circulation Advisory Committee might be looking at. We are going to start looking at grants, yes.
Okay.
There are grants out there for connections to schools and transportation and lots of other stuff. Right. What? Right. So Mr. Quinn says that the state only has $1 million in grants for the entire state of New Jersey for sidewalks.
Okay,
Which doesn't go very far, as you can imagine.
I mean, I'm not familiar with grants and how they're obtained. I mean, there may be other sources other than the state. I'm just, maybe some corporate, I don't know, just any way to look for safe sidewalks. I just was asking if it had been looked into, but I appreciate it. That might be worthwhile if there's something.
Yeah, so
Let's see what I can find out.
Right, the safe routes to schools and safe routes to transit grants are something we're going to be looking at.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next slide.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Gaul. I live at 13 Foots Lane in Morris Township, and I'm here to also support the sidewalk effort to our neighborhood. I've lived here 21 years. It's kind of too late for my family because my daughter's off to college, but it's not too late for me. I'm a runner, and I like to go into town. It would be lovely if I could run all the way to Wawanaka safely. I can't tell you how many times there's been, a car that I almost get hit by because of the curve around James Street and the speed with which traffic goes. So I really appreciate that the Township Committee is taking a look at how to make our town even more friendly place for people to be active, for families to be able to safely go from their homes to whatever kind of activity without having to get in the car. I think that's one of the things that makes Morris Township a wonderful place to live, and I'm glad that we're going to make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very good. So seeing no further commentary right now, we're going to close the first public commentary portion, and again, we'll open it up again at the end of the